So you're creating healthy habits. So when we're kind of busy day to day, we kind of know, there's things that we need to focus on with habits, but it's quite good to take a bit of a step back and look about what habits are, how we can create healthy habits, what's causing the unhealthy habits, and what we can do to kind of circumnavigate them. So habits are, actions that we do regularly. Most of the time, we don't even think about them. They're a repeated behavior, usually in response to a specific cue. For instance, we always get up and brush our teeth. Often, particularly when we used to go to work in an office, the default response would be to grab a coffee on the way to work. So often habits are important because they make the daily routine more efficient, but as we all know, they can lead to negative patterns if not managed correctly. So the habit loop, what's the habit loop? So the habit loop, there's 3 parts to it. There's the cue, the routine, and then reward. So in terms of that, the cue is a signal or trigger that starts a habit. The routine is the behavior, and the reward is what you gain from doing it. So for example, I'm a terrible one for this actually. If you have a habit of checking your phone, the cue is the vibration, or for me, the ping from trainer eyes often that I get when anyone posts anything. The routine is checking it, and the reward is the satisfaction from seeing a new message. So nutrition wise, which a lot of us struggle with, when you feel tired or fed up, the routine is the chocolate or wine, and then the reward is the dopamine hit, even though that might be short-lived. But tying it to a habit, thinking about, since you have started this coaching program, to take, I think the meeting we had last week on celebrating small wins is try to think already of the healthy habits you have created. So thinking about any of you, if you can put one in the chat, if you're able to reach chat, have you managed to introduce a daily protein shake, for instance? Or for those people who maybe started on my 28-day shred program before they went into full coaching, I know that a lot of people have incorporated daily juice. So those kind of things, it shows you it is possible. So I don't know whether any of you have read the James Clear Atomic Habits. So it's quite a handy thing to read. Also, he was interviewed on the I'll post this later. I can't remember the name of the podcast, but I'll post it later. So he says, obviously people think it's hard to change habits, but if you think about it, in some ways it's easy. We do it all the time. One of the brain's primary objectives is to change your behavior based on the room or the people that you're around. And so you're changing your behavior constantly without even realizing it. Obviously, what's difficult is to design your behavior to your liking. And that requires more strategic thought and tactics to do that. So how do we go about kind of, hacking our lives and creating this, hacking the lifestyle and creating it so that we can be strategic about our healthy habits? So one way of doing it is thinking about anchoring. So that means tying it to a existing habit or a specific time of the day that you already do something. So for example, if you want to exercise daily, just stack it, anchor it to doing it right after brushing your teeth, for instance. I definitely find morning exercise, all my morning routines, exercise, I find it much easier to do it in the morning. I've tried over the years, I've tried doing evening, I've tried doing lunchtime, even though I have had my own business for 15 odd years and I have the time to be able to decide, I can't exercise at lunchtime. Evenings I can now and again, but I've just found that actually for me, it's just a habit that I get up, roll out of bed and do it straight away. For instance, if you want to start increasing more fiber, replace that ritual, which I know some of you have done, replace the ritual of making coffee, because half of it, I think, is that kind of ritual of like, oh, I'll put the coffee in the machine, that kind of thing, and replace that with a juice. Another thing that I've talked about a lot in the past is, instead of when you get that desire to snack, sometimes it can be 11 o'clock, have your lunch instead. Often it's a sign of hunger. So if you just replace that habit of having a snack with having your lunch, you instantly are already probably cut out quite a lot of unhealthy snacks that you don't need, because you will find that will ride you through the day. So think about starting small and building from that. So again, going back to that last week's meeting that we had, it's about celebrating small wins. So all of you have been doing this program. You've all created things, created different habits. So you should celebrate those and take, take something from that and think, if I've done it on a small scale, then that can build from there. But it's obviously about staying consistent. So to maintain a habit and build a habit, it's about doing it at the same time every day. So if, for instance, you struggle with doing your workouts, do them at the same time, or potentially if your days are always really unsure, your times are really unsure, maybe just make sure it's on the same day and just create boundaries around that day, a particular time, and say nothing else is going to get in the way of that. So over time, that will become automatic. So you'll reduce the effort, because at first, the difficulty with habits, particularly when you're really busy, you've got lots going on, is creating a new habit. It takes hard work. So it feels like an effort. So any effort, we're often reluctant to do it, or we're tired and we think, oh, we'll focus on that later. You just got to push through and keep that consistency until it becomes effortless, like having like a protein shake, which is just common nature for lots of you now. And obviously the big one for most of us is, how do you break the unhealthy ones? How do you stop reaching for the chocolate or the crisps, or missing a workout because things get really busy? How do you kind of break those unhealthy habits? Part of it is understanding what triggers the bad habits and finding that alternative behavior. But instead of constantly focusing on the bad habits, thinking, oh my God, I'm so awful, I just keep doing it, I can't do anything about it, and getting into that kind of negative loop, focus on just replacing it rather than focusing on the bad habit. Just think, oh, what can I replace it with? Something positive. So these sound a bit trite, but they do work. So if you usually end the day with a glass of wine, take a walk outside first. It might just be enough to create that time space, that time lag, for you to get past the desire for that glass of wine and to get that kind of a walk in instead, increasing your daily step count, which will make a massive difference as well to your health. So if you often get to the afternoon and you have cake or chocolate or anything like that, normally it's often because you're bored. Actually, you're bored, or you're a bit tired, or you just feel you're just looking something to fill a vacuum sometimes. So maybe go out with a friend, or just phone a friend, or do something that will again replace that habit with something more positive. Another way of thinking about this as well, and we did touch on this in a podcast I did earlier this year, trying to think of it as, habits matter because every action you take kind of is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So for instance, if you are, like you teach your kids, if you've got kids when they were younger, to make their bed every day, because being an adult, how horrible it makes you feel when you go into a bedroom and you go to sleep in a bed that's not been made, that's got like kind of stuff all over the floor. I mean, I still sometimes, I have to admit, have stuff that I leave on the floor that I think I'll go and I'll put in the laundry, and then I hate it when I go into the room and I've got that there, so I'll clear it up straight away. So it's trying to think about changing your mindset about, rather than I've got to stop eating crisps and having chocolate, focus on, I want to be the kind of person who really glows with health, who other people say, God, you look so healthy, and is in control of how you eat. You know, for instance, when you're at work, every time you deliver a project at work, you instantly embody the identity of someone ambitious and driven. And so for lots of you who have been really successful at work, are very successful at work, if you can do that, then you can do all the things around nutrition as well. It's just creating those healthy habits and taking the effort that you give to work in the same way to give to yourself, really. So ways of thinking about this. So say you are thinking, I want to, if you're very strength-based and you're thinking, I want to start doing a 80, 100K deadlift, you want to be that person that doesn't miss workouts. So someone who exercises consistently rather than focusing specifically on, oh God, I just can't, I keep missing this workout. I'm never going to reach that kind of weight. You just want to be someone who exercises consistently. You know, that's someone that everyone always says, God, you're so amazing. You always do your workouts. Or I want to lose X amount of body fat, switch it to be someone who I want to be someone who consistently eats foods to optimize my health and energy. And just some simple steps. These are kind of simple tips that you can use to kind of hack, get around unhealthy habits and help you create an environment in which the healthy nutrition habits are easier to do. You know, like for instance, you place your, and there are studies done on this about how if you change the way your kitchen is and your kitchen flow, instantly people will walk further, they'll be healthier, depending on the kitchen flow, the kind of the landscape of your kitchen. So if you place nutritious food in immediate view, so if you've got things like, if you're the type of person that typically relies on pasta for a short, you know, a quick fix when you come in from work, or you've had a really long day, or you're someone who relies on crisps for that quick snack, you know, if you've got them in the house, just put them to the very back, the highest shelf, so that it's not the thing that you can immediately reach for. Put things like your quinoas and your chickpeas and your things like that all at the front, all at the easy to get at places. If you're tracking, so something, for instance, that I've been doing lately is, because there are certain things that I will regularly eat. So for lunch, I often have like tuna salads, or I'll have sardines with a tin of lentils with some eggs. So they're really easy for me to do because I don't really have to think about it. And I can almost input ahead right at the beginning of the day. Before anything else, I can literally fill out my my macros for the entire day, so I can see already what I've got to play with. So, you know, maybe I've got like 300 calories I can play with, or, you know, I need I've fulfilled my protein, and maybe actually I could do with a little bit more carbohydrate. And then you kind of know during your day, actually I can have that because I've got that space, because I've already input what I'm going to have for the day. So I've spoken about this before with lots of you, actually, is if you've got a grab and go food because you've got to work away from home, don't go at lunchtime when you're more likely to be hungry, and you've rushed out because you've got a tiny space in your calendar and you're like, right, got to get some lunch. I'm absolutely starving. And potentially you're really busy. So therefore you've left it right to the last minute till you're really past the point and you just want to eat anything, or you're catching the train home. Go into your Pret or wherever you're going to go and buy it first thing in the morning after your breakfast, when you're already already full, and therefore you're going to be more likely to make sensible choices. And this one, I know, is really make it simple. Like, for instance, if you think, you know, carrot sticks, things like that are actually quite nice, but they if you have to peel them and cut them up, sometimes you won't. You'll be like, oh, I'll just have crisp instead because I can't be asked to do that. So literally buy anything that will make it easier, even to the point of sometimes if you're really busy, you might be like, oh, I can't be bothered to open that tin. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you have found yourself doing that sometimes, buy the things that have got the pull tin things on them. Buy the ready cooked quinoa if you think, oh, actually, I won't cook that quinoa because I can't be bothered to wait for it to cook. Buy it in that packet already cooked. buy the ready peeled carrots, buy the kind of frozen broccoli that you can quickly put into, that you don't have to cut up, anything that makes it easier. I found in France they sell a lot of not the single like airplane trolley bottles of wine, but like kind of the half bottles of wine. So I found that made it really easy to have less wine, because I had a small bottle of wine, no temptation to share a big bottle, just a small bottle of wine. And that instantly is going to cut down your amount of sugar and your carbs from having a large bottle of wine. And another really good thing to do is try to learn a new healthy, quick to make recipe every week or at least every month, because we fall into default and tend to cook the same things. If you're tired, then often you'll think, oh, I just have that really nice like pasta with pesto or something like that. So if you make something and you think, oh, that's really delicious and it's really quick to make, you're more likely to think of that again and make that. So it's really about learning new recipes and engaging with food, rather than being scared of the food and thinking, oh, I don't really know what to eat, whether that's healthy or not. So I'll just like stick with either the same things, which get a bit boring, or go back, start sliding back into maybe things that are not quite as nutritious. And then again, like I've said before, don't beat yourself up if you break a healthy habit. You know, it's not a sign of your self-worth if you break a habit, you do something that's not the healthiest. Just get back to it. Really, if you know, the Olympics are on at the moment. Success for all of those Olympians hasn't come overnight. It's come from consistently putting in that work, overcoming setbacks. So next time you're thinking about, oh, you just think, oh, I can't do this. Just channel your inner Olympian when it comes to your nutrition and your healthy habits.